going on, everybody? It's your boy Pitts, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live. Listen, it's going down, all things HBCUs. And who else better to start it off with them Bowie State Bulldogs? We coming to you, Bowie State Bulldogs, total access. We got the Morgan State Bears. Listen, all HBCUs information, all HBCU news, sporting events, updates. You get it live here with Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, Comcast Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11 is going down. Don't you miss a beat. Listen, it's only the beginning because it's early still. And it's we're gonna be here all day. All day. What's going on, everybody? You know what it is. I'm your host, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live yet again. You are tuned in to the Pitts and Powell show, and we have a familiar face. She's definitely not a stranger. Sydney, how have you been? Where have you been? Update to the viewers and listeners about why you've been absent.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello everybody. Thank you for having me back, Pitts. I missed this platform. I've been working, doing great things, still trying to finish school and all of that, but I've been really blessed and I'm excited to be back.
Absolutely. Go ahead and do your thing.
Okay, well, joining us today is the head coach of Bowie State University's powerhouse softball team, Coach Edward Powell. Since taking over the program, Coach Powell has built the Bulldogs into a dominant force in the CIAA, leading the team to 3 consecutive conference championships and earning CIAA Coach of the Year honors. Bowie State University's softball has consistently been one of the top programs in the conference under his leadership, highlighted by record-breaking seasons, standout all CIAA talent, and national recognition. From developing elite players to creating a winning culture, Coach Powell has truly elevated the standard of excellence for Bowie State University's softball team. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sydney. Oh, I don't know who all that was about. That's why I'm confused. I'm like, who is that person? I want to meet that person. But thank you so much for this. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Coach, since we last spoke, so much has happened. The last time we spoke, we talked about not so much the challenges, but the adversity that the team was facing by playing some of the upper top, tier schools, and how the adversity would at some point gel the team in a direction once they get to the CIAA. And by gosh, doggone it, it happened almost immediately.
Yeah, well, the plan. I mean, it didn't really look all that clear when we first started. You know what I mean? It just from day one, from the first game out against FAMU to the last game against Shaw, it was the plan just started to get clearer and clearer, you know what I mean? But we started off rough. It started off rough, but I like where we are as a team right now, and I like we're in the direction that we're headed. So that's for sure.
Coach, just to kick it off, one of the things, and I really want to go into the 6 games individually and short segments, right? Because one thing that I've noticed, and this is just from an overall standpoint, was I looked at the errors, right? I look at the hits and I look at the errors, and I see that the errors have been trending downward, which tells you that the team is starting to get comfortable with that continuity that you and I always talk about. They're being able to develop that now as they play more. And just talk about, just from a perspective, these past 6 weeks, just talk about the aura that your team carried going into the CIAA as a whole, and then we'll break down. And now Sydney will go and then we'll break down each game.
Yeah. So just talking about going into the CIAA roundup, we were looking to try to build some momentum because we were 4-12 And the last two outings when we went to West Virginia, we were starting to build and starting to gel then. And then we kind of took, kind of what we had learned by playing West Virginia Concord. I think we played Salem and Slippery Rock. We, we kind of took those experiences and kind of just went with kind of the experience that we felt like we were going to continue to compete. You know what I mean? And I definitely, the errors were down, but I think that part of the errors being down was really about our pitchers and catchers really coming through. You know what I mean? They have a job to do. And if they can get 6 to 7 outs in a game, if they can get 9 outs, that's great. Then that means we only have to, in the field, only have to get 11 outs. You know what I mean? So that makes that task a little bit easier. So that's where we are. That's where we, that's kind of where we ended up. We can talk more about the individual games, but as a group, as a whole, we came in and kind of did what we thought we could do, you know what I mean? But it wasn't easy. Let me say that right now. It was not easy.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, what's the biggest thing you want your team to carry from this weekend into the next stretch of games?
Good question. So we have built momentum, and so we just want to carry that momentum continuous into this weekend when we play Goldie Beacom, just to continue the, really the fight, really the competition, to be able to compete, on every pitch, every inning, every opportunity. We just want to compete, let's just compete.
Yeah.
When you talk about the momentum, right? You talk about going into this game. And before I get to that question, I got a comment on Instagram. Shout out to the alumni of Bowie State that tune in every time Coach and I speak. We are definitely grateful for the viewership. We ask that you share it, just so the alum who may not be privy to the knowledge and understanding of what Bowie State softball has been doing and what they're on the cusp of being able to do this year is unreal. So shout out to Gerard Hines. He says y'all have been killing the CIAA Go Bulldogs. Proud of them.
Thanks. Love that.
Coach.
Yeah, man.
We respect everybody.
Yeah.
But we ain't afraid of nobody.
Yeah, no.
You open up the CIAA roundup against your nemesis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
In Atlanta for the HBCU softball invitational, they won that game, and there was definitely some things shared social media wise after that. Talk about your team's thought process and energy going into this game, with this being the kickoff of the CIAA roundup. Of the CIAA roundup.
I think we went in really focused. We kind of we really went in focused. That's the word I'm gonna use, because that's kind of what we went into. We knew, the schedule was already laid out for us, so it wasn't like, we didn't know who we were playing, and we went in knowing that they're not gonna give it to us. It's not gonna be, a whole lot of runs scored. If it is, it's gonna be a close game with a lot of runs scored, or it's gonna be a close game with not a lot of runs scored. You know what I mean? So let's just go in prepared to compete, to really compete. And then literally that's what we, kind of, that was the conversation. And like I said before, we treat every game, no different than the other. We like to think that we do get up a little bit. I'm gonna be honest, Claflin, they have a lot of athletic players, so we got to come and bring all our athleticism, bring all our cheering, bring all our focus, to come out on top. So, we bring all of that, and then they bring what they have, and then we see how it shows, how I show up, So we came out on top that time.
Sydney, I love Coach, because Coach is so modest.
Yeah.
He really is. He knew exactly what I was doing, and he took a class on this, because he did a Cupid shuffle all the way around. So go ahead,
Yeah,
Sydney. You
man.
know.
Well, obviously, you've curated an amazing team of softball players, given your success over the weekend. But were there any players who really stepped up and stood out or set the tone for the team this weekend?
Ooh, it would. Okay, so this is really a hard question because we talk about all 23, all 24 players at some point has to show up. Everybody has a responsibility, depending on what the game is. And sometimes it's the dugout cheering, you know what I mean? That kind of pulls us through. Sometimes it's one play, or sometimes it's two plays or two players. But, that's why it's called a team. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? One person can't, one person, one game may be the success. But you know what I mean? But to win 6 games, it took all 23 players to show up and contribute in so many different ways. So, to call out, the people that I may call out, it's gonna be a senior. You know what I mean? Coco Dunham, shows up every game, he's ready to compete, ready, to give it all, and also in a leadership role, so because she's our senior, we also have another senior. Ryan wasn't able to make it. She had her grandmother was ill, so you needed to stay back. But I'm gonna definitely say Coco. We have so many other players that showed up, but definitely Coco as our one of two seniors showed up really well.
Absolutely, and prayers up for Ryan and her
Yes.
family.
Yep.
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Ryan definitely carries an energy that I'm sure is
Yeah.
missed on the team.
Yeah, Ryan has a special kind of energy that we all love, Ryan for.
Absolutely,
So definitely miss Ryan. I hope grandma
absolutely,
gets better. You know what I mean? And prayers up for her.
absolutely. I just want to say this out in the chat because I see a lot of Bowie State softball players that are watching live.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I want to let you ladies know that if you want, y'all can ask Coach a question too. So in
Ah,
the comment, the viewers watching, if you have a question that you want to ask Coach, fire it away, and we don't mind sharing it out there. So, Coach,
yeah.
go to Winston. You start off with Claflin, and then the
Yep.
second game I believe is shout out to Taylor. Taylor said, "Hey, now give me an opportunity, and
Oh
I'll
yeah,
take it."
Taylor. Oh, Taylor. I know Taylor's on. I know Taylor's on.
That's my girl.
Yeah.
So you talk about start out with Claflin, and then you play Winston Salem.
No,
Talk
we played
about
Livingstone. Livingstone.
I mean
Livingstone.
Livingstone, right?
Yeah, yeah, Livingstone.
Talk about keeping the team's morale when you shift from different opponents and the different strengths and strategies because each team is set up or is strength differently than the previous one.
I like this question just because I actually prepared for it because I looked at it. Um, the preparation to play Claflin and the preparation to play Livingstone wasn't any different. And here's the thing that I love the most. The team was just as excited to win the game against Livingstone as they was to win the game against Claflin. The excitement in the end of both of those games were the exact same level. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that I was really excited about. You know what I mean? So that kind of told me that, we are right where we need to be. You know what I mean? They were excited to beat, to win the Claflin game. They were just excited to win the Livingstone game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, we going in and we expecting to beat Livingstone and we expecting to beat Claflin. No, we excited to come away with the victory because of the work that they put in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what that was about, man. So but we were glad to come away first day 2-0 for sure. You know.
Yeah. You're on mute, Sid.
I'm so sorry.
No, you
But what,
good.
what does a weekend like this teach you about your team's ability and identity as a group and as a whole?
Mm. So we've been battle tested. We've been battle tested, and then what it tells me is that um, honestly, our team was they were even keel. like when the games were tight and games were like, we had some close games, but they never got rattled. They were really calm in the situation, and all that has to do with the previous schedule that we had played. We had played a lot of tough games early on that we lost by 1 run, but we were really competitive in those games. And so when we get to our conference and the games are close, we're winning those 1-run games. You know what I mean? So that tells me that the road that we took to get there was the one that we were supposed to take. Yeah, but it was a whole lot of bumps in that road. But we that was the one we were supposed to take.
Coach, when we talk about day 2, you go 2-0 the first game.
Mm-hmm.
The second day, you go 2-0. What was it that when you talk about going 2-0, the energy, the excitement carrying over? What was the carryover like for your team going into? Was that the quick reset, relax, refocus, and we're back to a new opponent, or did you see a carryover of energy, a carryover of excitement? Regardless of the opponent, that they were just willing and ready to go out there on a diamond.
Yeah, you touched on it perfectly. Once we got to Raleigh, once we got to Walnut Creek, and the first game, we never the enthusiasm, the competition level, the energy of what we brought never dropped. It was up every day. It wasn't like we had to go back to the well and get the energy, and then we empty the energy, and then we got to go back and get it. Once the level of energy was raised, it stayed that way. So from the first time we played, first inning we played Claflin, to the last inning against Shaw, it was the energy level never dropped.
Yeah.
How did your team handle like the pressure of maintaining an undefeated weekend and the steps to the wins that just kept stacking up? How did they maintain that pressure?
We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We go to the next one, get to the next one, because the last one's always over. So we got this new saying now is that, so what, now what? You know what I mean? And that means, like, you know what, if we made a mistake, so what, now what? You know what I mean? And so we took that into every day. So what we won the last game, now what? You know what I mean? So if you hear so what, now what, that's what it means.
That's all.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. So we got another Powell-ism. I think I just heard another Powell-ism.
That's what the players always say.
Listen, and shout out to my girl Calla Richardson.
Yeah.
Listen, the Powell-isms, for those who may not be aware, the Powell-isms are these. Early on, when me and Coach was talking, Coach said before they left for the HBCU Invitational, because they're going up against FAMU, North Carolina A&T,
Alcorn State,
Albany State, and they're going up against some good teams in the FCS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that Coach made explicitly clear was, we respect everybody, but we ain't afraid of nobody. Right?
Yeah.
So then to say, so what? Now what?
So what? Now what? Yeah.
So and I like that, right? Because there's nothing that happened in the game, whether win or loss, that couldn't be rectified in the next game.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's it. Yeah, man. No,
I like that. So what? Now what?
Yeah.
Another T-shirt.
It really came from one of my players. I was really trying to figure out how to help her at bat. Just try to, don't worry about the last one. Let's get ready, because she was she's one of our, best contact hitters, best hitters on the team. And at some point, she just wasn't it wasn't clicking for her. And I was like, I know she got it. So I was like, hey, so what? Now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what you missed the last, no, what you struck out. So what? Now what?
Yeah.
Now what we gonna do?
Yeah.
And she kind of embodied that. You know what I mean? She kind of embodied that. So now I was like, oh, then that's what's gonna work for the whole team. So now we make a mistake. So what? Now what? You know?
Man, so one of the ladies, she actually is helping me transition to this quickly because we talked earlier and you said the errors are down when the pitchers and catcher. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to talk more and just highlight the pitchers. We talked about
Oh,
Sid, we talked
yep,
about Draco, we talked
yep.
about Lee, the freshman, and we talked about Alicia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's shout out to Alicia. She's tuning in with us now.
Oh,
I
sure.
just want if you can, if you can just just talk more because I don't think when you're talking 6 games and you got 4 pitchers,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you got to balance that out.
yeah.
Talk about the rotation and the balancing that you're able to do to keep the pitchers one fresh, motivated, excited, and engaged.
That's honestly that's the easy part. I mean, because they all are competitive. They all want the ball every game. You know what I mean? And that's what I love. They all want the ball every game, no matter what game it is, no matter who we're playing, no matter what the competition is. If I just close my eyes and say, all right, you start, and they all like, all right, good. Let me I want the ball. And that's what you
Yeah,
want. That's what you want your pitching staff to have. You know what I mean? And all four want the ball, at every turn. And that's what you're looking for, that competition. But they work hard, equally, they all work hard. There's no question about it. And when they got the ball in the circle, that the evidence shows up, the hard
yeah,
work shows up. And I want to make sure that, you know, um, Audrey has been
mm,
catching. Yeah, Audrey,
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 a
Audrey did
big bat too.
yeah, big bat. Audrey did a great job, and so did Kyla Richardson. Actually, has transitioned to be one of our catchers,
Mm,
and she came through big. I mean, and just so we since I call the names, Sydney Seals, Aaliyah.
yeah,
So we got Sydney Seals, Aaliyah, and then Alicia and Drakeford, and in no particular order. You know what I mean? They, like I said, they all are hungry for the ball, and literally
interchangeable.
that's what you want from your pitching staff. You don't want them to run away from it. You want them to run towards the circle, and they all
Yeah,
four do that. You know what I mean? They all four, want to be in the circle. So
and you know why? Because they respect everybody, but
yeah.
they ain't afraid of nobody.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. They are afraid of no one, and that's what you want out of your, definitely your pitching staff, but out of the entire team, you know, um, embodies that kind of, will to say, all right, I want to be out there. Put me out there because I want to play. I want to prove my worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what you want as a team. So yeah, man, that's
And
that's.
yeah. Sid, if you have any other questions, and I'll get ready to close it out. So, Coach,
No, thank you for
go
joining me.
ahead.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for having me, Sid. Thank you.
You see how much Sid makes the show that much better. Like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
the intros is crazy. Coach said, I was trying to meet that guy.
Yeah, yeah, for real. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to meet that person she introduced. 'Cause I don't know that person. I don't know that person. I just know the head pal that coach a little softball. You know what I mean? So yeah, thanks. I
Gotta give you
appreciate
your
it though.
flowers.
Yeah, oh yeah, yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
To close it out, you guys put up, I believe, 12-4 was that 16 runs the last day, and day three, I think, was 12 against Johnson C. Smith, and
Mm,
then 4 in the second game.
mm-hmm.
And I looked, and one of the things, like, you and I have spoken about many times, is for me, I just looked at, again, from where they started, from going to Atlanta and only
Mm.
having their first practice on that Thursday before they played Friday.
Yeah.
And even with the short timing of being able to build that continuity, or with the short timing to be able to build that chemistry that you need during practice, to feed off of each other, understanding each other's weaks and strengths, and to watching the growth day in, day out, week in, week out. Not only that, the ladies always have a smile on their face. You can't when they were down, you couldn't tell they were down. You
Mhm.
know, they were still cheering loudly. They were still having fun with it, and it's amazing to see that the trajectory. Once you got to the CIAA, because I was sitting there looking, and I'm like, okay, I'm anxious to see
Mhm.
how we walk away out
Mhm.
of this, and to see a clean sweep
Mhm.
was very good to see, and it was telling of me that all of the adversity that they dealt with playing the Albany states and the Alcorn states and the FAMU's and the North Carolina A&Ts and Claflin during the HBCU softball invitational started to remedy itself within each other the more they played together, the continuity that they were needing. I mean, we seen it in the fall. It was
Mhm.
no different. It's
Mhm.
starting to showcase now and peaking at the absolute right moment.
Yeah, yeah. I contribute that to practice. Honestly, I
Yeah,
contribute, the stuff that nobody really can see, the energy, the blood, sweat, and tears that's in the work. You know what I mean? And then all that when we show up, it's all about what kind of work that we put in, you know, beforehand. You know what I mean? So that's when the
absolutely.
game is won, when they putting in all that work, from February to April to May. You know what I mean? It's just about what you're doing in between those dots, those dashes. Gonna
Yeah,
tell us, what's the outcome. You know.
absolutely. And lastly, Presley Braxton,
Oh,
100 career hits.
oh man, you know what? I wanted to give a shout out to both Presley and Coco because they both got 100, and
Mm,
I think Sydney Seals is either right at 100 strikeouts or
wow,
she's really close. So I call that the Century Club.
man,
I call that the Century Club. That's the Century
man,
Club. So yeah, so no, that's big. And I told somebody else that Presley is unique because she scored 1,000 points in high school and she got
mm,
100 hits. I think that's really really rare to have an athlete, to have that kind of those kind of
man.
special numbers. So yeah, shout out to Presley Braxton.
Shout out to 12.
Yeah, shout out to
Man,
12. Yep.
man, that's major. Shout out to Coco. Shout out to Sid. And shout out to Presley, Coach.
Yep.
Another banger. Another one in the books. I greatly appreciate you for joining,
Oh
Sydney.
man.
Thank
Uh,
you as well.
Sydney, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
And y'all know what it is. I'm your host, Pitts Sports on Bowie TV. Also, don't forget our sponsors, Staples and Smart Water.
Oh
You
yeah.
want your printouts? Go to Staples for your prints. You want that good old hydration? Turn on over to Smart Water. But listen, it's going down. Pitt Sports on Bowie TV, coming to you live every other Monday. It also airs on Comcast. It's going down. Bowie State softball. They're chasing four, y'all. Something amazing. They're going for a four. Nobody's
Uh-huh.
ever done that before. We
Go
gonna keep y'all
Bulldogs.
tuned in.
Go Bulldogs.